Hello and welcome. This is a short video or presentation around the nutrition principles that we're going to be following, not only in this specific program block, but also just life in general. So these are the principles that I want you to carry forward with you from this point on. That's going to really dramatically change your health. So the purpose of this video is just to go through just some of those guiding principles to support it. I've got a full PDF outline. That PDF has a lot more detail in terms of the what, the why, exactly what you can eat, sort of exactly what we want you to eliminate. And yeah, it just carries a little bit more detail. So I'd encourage you to read that. You can get that in the app. We also may touch on that at the end of this video if we have time. But for the purpose of this video, I just want to more sort of broadly touch on nutrition, what it means for you, and the behavior shift that we're looking to get out of it. And so this video is sort of that first step in that process. So I'm just going to quickly share my screen. Okay, so this is, like I said, it's a nutrition protocol, guiding principles for a whole foods diet that will dramatically improve your health. So what that means is this isn't like a diet or like a quick fix. We're not specifically going keto here. We're not specifically going paleo or carnivore or anything like that. It's really just a whole foods approach. It's more about understanding how to eliminate all the things that are not serving you in trying to achieve your goal, and bringing in things that are going to serve you, whether your goal is weight loss or to feel more energetic, or a combination of a few of those things. This is sort of the protocol that's going to be able to do that. And if you initiate that change and bring that behavior shift in, this will last you sort of a lifetime. And so that's what we want to do here. We want to create those shifts that are going to propel you forward in your health, and in a lasting way too. Okay, so let's get into it. So today, we're just going to go through sort of what to eat, what you will eat and eliminate. So we're just going to touch on a couple of things there. I'll just speak to a few of the key points, but then, like I said, there's all that detail in the PDF. We'll go through how to eat, mindful eating and its benefits, how it makes you feel. So learning to connect with your body and its response to specific foods, stress and food. So the impact that stress can have on your digestion, and then the impact that stress can have on your health in general. And then we'll go through calorie counting and why we won't be doing it for this sort of protocol or this program. But first, we need to establish or identify your dream. Now, as part of the process of this program, identifying your dream is really, really key. And this is something that we'll go through in our one-on-one. I sort of spoke to it really quickly in the welcome video. But the idea here and how it relates to food is having a really clear goal or really clear dream. If you know what that is, it makes the those little sacrifices or those little wins with your food all the more easier, because you're in alignment with what it is that you want to achieve for yourself. So if your goal is weight loss, or to improve your body composition, or if it is to feel more energetic, or if it is to improve your digestion, if you have those goals, and I'd urge you to be specific with that as to what it looks like. So it might be lose 10 kilos by my birthday next year, or it could be lose a bit of weight, improve my energy so I can start playing soccer again, or it might just be to be actively engaged and able to play with my kids for hours at a time. These are some ideas, and these are potential goals. It could be to run a marathon or train for a triathlon. It can be anything, but it's your goal. But when you have that goal, then whenever you're confronted with a decision to make around food, you'll always have the opportunity to make the choice that's in alignment with that goal. So for example, you're out to dinner as part of this protocol, maybe we're eliminating a whole bunch of processed food, and we're eliminating a whole bunch of like gluten and stuff. And you have the choice. And let's just say you're at a pub, like this is a classic situation at a pub, but you can choose to have the chicken schnitty that's got the fries, and then you can choose to have like a beer or a soft drink or whatever with it. Is that choice in alignment with your goal, considering you're eating all these inflammatory foods, you're eating all these foods that are going to poorly contribute to your nutrition? Or are you going to choose the steak option and you're not going to get the chips? You're going to get the steak, you're going to get the veggies, and you might get the mash or whatever they're offering, but you're choosing a more whole foods, nutrition, or nutrient rich option, right? So that one is in maybe more alignment with your goal. So if your goal is weight loss, I know it's pretty common. Another little strategy you can do is just in whatever format you can, just sit down for like 10, 15 minutes and draw a picture of what you look like now. And then draw yourself in a different color, a picture of what you want to look like. And so then then you've sort of really articulated in the physical form what your goal is. And then you can always refer back in your mind's eye to that picture. And then when you're confronted with the steak or the schnitty, you know that the steak's going to bring you closer to that picture that you draw of yourself as to how you want to look. Okay, so that's maybe an option there, but establishing your dream is really, really key and is a fundamental part of any sort of nutrition protocol or change up in your nutrition. Now onto what to eat. So the first thing we're going to talk about is organic produce. So you've all heard it. I'm sure you know that for a long time people have said that you are what you eat, and this really genuinely rings true. So our body is built up of proteins, fats, and carbohydrates. The protein are the amino acids, which are the building blocks of the body. Carbohydrates provide energy for the brain, and fat plays multiple roles in transferring or transporting vitamins and minerals around the body, plus has like a secondary purpose of providing energy and a whole multitude of things. But they're the puzzle pieces that put us together. The cells of our body over an entire 12-month period turn over. So every year we've effectively got a new body. So if you have toxic cells or damaged cells in your body, we're constantly turning those over. So in order to replenish them in a more optimal way, you give them the right ingredients. Now, the right ingredients is produce that is grown ideally organically, or with minimal intervention, or with no use of pesticides, herbicides, rodenticides, any of that sort of stuff. It's just a plant that's grown out of the ground that is going to have the highest nutrient sort of properties, and it's not going to have any of the inflammatory toxins that are in produce that's been sprayed. And the same goes for all of your meat produce. So pasture raised, from a biodynamic farm or a regenerative farm. You want it to be grass fed. You want your chooks to be free range. You want your fish to be wild caught. The reason is that whatever you are what you eat, but you are also what the animal you eat eats, right? So if they're also eating toxic foods, that then becomes the makeup of their body. And then when you eat the meat that comes out of that animal, you take on whatever it is in its nutrient properties, you bring that on board as well. So if they've been eating toxic food, you're now eating toxic food in the form of their flesh. Okay, so it's really, really important, especially when it comes to animals, that you're eating the best quality produce you can get. All right, so I know that this is a big shift for a lot of people, and I understand it can be expensive, but it's also not if you're making the right changes in your life. You're going to be full for longer. You're not going to need to snack as much. So you're probably reducing your cost there. If we're eliminating things like alcohol, I know that's a big expense each week for a lot of people. If we're and then if you're sourcing locally to the degree at which you're going to farmers markets, or to the degree at which you're finding your local butcher and you're working closely with them, you can actually save money. And oftentimes we compare the prices of what we buy from our local sort of suppliers versus Woolies, and it's always a lot cheaper. So it seems face value to be more expensive, but I can assure you over the long term, it's going to be a lot cheaper. And then in the entire construct of your health, if you're not getting sick as much, it's also going to be a lot cheaper. Okay, so that's sort of part one of what to eat. Another strategy, if you are going to the big supermarkets, just shop the outer rings of the supermarket aisles. Everything on the sort of within that, in the center of the supermarket, that's all just the processed food. So from like the cereal aisle to the, chockies and lollies, to all like the international foods and et cetera, all those aisles, that's where you start getting more and more processed foods. Now, it's not to say you can't go and get your tinned tomatoes because you're making bolognese. It's more just the general guiding principle. When you walk into the supermarket, you should be spending more than 90% of your money in time shopping the outer ring. So that's all your fresh produce. That's all that's all of your proteins. It'll be your eggs, your milk, all of your dairy stuff, even like frozen berries that you might get from the frozen section. So just really being mindful of that when you walk into the shopping center. Eliminate processed foods and sugars. So I already sort of spoke to this, but you're going to be eliminating any and all processed foods. The faster you get these out of your system, the faster you're going to see results. So it's purely a whole foods diet. Okay. So I think this leads into the next one. If you can't read the ingredients, if you don't understand it, then don't eat it. Like if you actually can't pronounce the word, you don't understand it, you don't know what it means, it's not real food. So don't eat it. There are some pretty good products out there now. An example of one I think is like Tom and Luke's. They make like little sort of bliss balls or date balls, but on their ingredients it would literally just be like dates, cacao, might be like cashews and salt or something. And it's just like, okay, I know what those ingredients are, so that's generally speaking okay to eat. If it's got a long list like this example here, then just don't eat it. So get used to reading your ingredients. It's really, really key for making sure that we're not bringing in more inflammation into the body. And I'll sort of speak to that inflammation piece in a little bit. No artificial drinks. So get rid of the energy drinks, get rid of the Coke, get rid of the sodas. That stuff is effectively poison. Particularly the energy drinks, they're massive hormone disruptors. So because of the crazy energy spikes that they give you, they're just playing with your hormones. If your hormones aren't rhythmic in nature, and if they're not, stable throughout the day, then they're going to be in a sort of a more of a stress response at a constant level. If you're that constant stress response, then the body's mechanism for survival is to conserve food, conserve water, and that's where you'll start to carry and hold a lot of weight, not to mention the fact that these things are loaded with processed sugars and then all the other artificial additives too. So avoid them at all costs. They're not doing you any good. Okay, and then to counter that, drink your filtered water. So water is incredibly important for the function of the body. You should be aiming for, I generally say sort of 2.5 to 3 liters a day, but if you want to be specific, there's a formula. There's your body weight times 0.033. That's your liters a day. So if you're 90 kilos, that's 2.97 liters per day that you need to be drinking. Again, I don't want to overwhelm you. So let's just start. If your baseline is you're not drinking water, let's just start with drinking water. If you are drinking that much water, then let's start to think about how do we change the water that you're drinking. So you can, filtered water is always going to be best. And I'm not necessarily urging you to go and load up on plastic bottles from the supermarket, but just have a look at options out there. There are the little at-home jugs that you can buy. There's these filtered water bottles like the one I've got on the screen from Hydrogen Health. They do like a bit of fluoride and chlorine filtration. But what you want to be doing is eliminating all the toxic stuff out of the water. and then sort of having good quality structured water that's high in mineral content. So to use a quick analogy, and I can't recall the exact term, but water in its in like a pure form, let's just say you're at the top of the mountain, before it starts to trickle down, let's just say it's like just baseline H2O, it's got nothing in it. What it will do is, as it travels down the mountain, it goes over all of the rocks and the sand and everything. It draws in all the minerals from all those structures that it passes. The same happens to your body. If you're drinking water that doesn't already have like minerals within it, it will, as it goes into your body, it will extract minerals out of your body, so out of your muscle tissue, out of your bone tissue, into the water. However, on the flip side, if it's packed full of minerals, then it distributes those minerals to all of those tissues and all those different parts of the body. Okay, so really, really important to have a good quality water. But first step, if you're not drinking enough water, just start drinking enough water. Typically, if you're a little bit hungry, drink some water, and you might find that really you're probably just dehydrated. Okay, so aim 2.5 to 3 liters a day. We'll keep it simple. Now, how to eat. So we're going to go through some strategies to better improve your digestion and absorption of nutrients. So one thing that I love to do is to take 3 deep breaths just before you eat. So as you sit down, plate of food, boom, lands in front of you. You're ready to go. Before you just dive straight in, I know you're hungry. I get this all the time, and I'm the same. If you've got the kids with you at the table as well, sometimes you can feel pressured just to start eating because it's a bit of a race to the finish. You're trying to beat them so you can clean them, and I get it. But just take that moment just to really connect, sit down, and just take 3 deep breaths. So just in and out through your nose. And just feel your body relax in that moment. You'll notice it. What you're doing there is we're entering a parasympathetic state. So we're moving from your sympathetic nervous system to the parasympathetic, which means we're going from stress to rest and digest. The reason that's important is we're giving the signals to the body that it's ready, that we are ready to sort of sit down and eat this food now, and it starts firing up all the engines of digestion for you. So it's preparing the body. Okay, so 3 deep breaths just before you eat. And then where do you eat? Are you eating in front of the TV? Do you eat in front of a red brick wall? Are you eating in front of like a busy street all the time? Your environment is really, really key. If you can be surrounded by family and friends in an environment with no distractions, that's optimal. We want to create a nice, calm, nurturing, homely environment that we're going to eat in, because again, that's taking stress out of the equation, and it's allowing you to be present in the moment and take your time with eating your food. Chew your food. Now, this is a really important one, and one that I actually fall victim to all the time, because I love food. I get into it. I love to eat it. It's not a race till the end. You should chew your food. So you should chew your food. So it's like water. So it's like you drink your food and you should eat your water. That's kind of like a saying. So go slow with when you drink water. And then with your food, chew it so much that it's almost as if you're drinking it. And it's a pretty gross thing to think about. But just take that extra moment. If you think you've chewed it enough, chew it some more. It'll slow you down. You will then fill up appropriately. You won't just like inhale it and still have these like cues from the body that you're hungry because it hasn't been digested yet. You'll be digesting as you're eating. And then as that process is going, you'll get fuller and fuller. So you will eat less food. And it really, really takes the pressure off the small intestines from having to break all that food down, because you've already done the hard part with your jaw, which is what it's designed to do. Okay. Chew your food. It's a good one. Right. And then with your meals, I always like to put some kind of leafy greens on the plate, and always start with the leafy greens. Reason being, they're just, they carry a lot of digestive enzymes. So You sit down, if you've got your steak and your veggies and you've got your little salad, just throw a bunch of the greens in first, get them down the hatch, because that's going to start the enzyme process to then assist in breaking down all that other protein and carbohydrates that you're going to bring in. Now I want to talk about how do you feel. So this is the art of paying attention as to how food makes you feel. So you should never feel tired after eating. If you've just inhaled a whole heap of food, you've eaten like a bunch of bread, and then you just want to sit back, unbuckle your belt, and just like completely zone out to the point where you might just fall asleep, you've overeaten. You've eaten too much food, you've eaten too fast, and you've eaten the wrong sort of stuff. So you should never feel tired after eating. You should feel energized. Okay. So that's like a nice, important one just to be mindful of. Are you bloated after eating? So what is it that you ate that's causing you to feel this way? Are you bloated a couple of hours after eating? Think back to your last meal or the meal before that. Were there specific nuts or grains in it? Did you maybe eat too much bread, or was there some dairy in it that maybe you don't tolerate too well? Being mindful of like your body and just taking note of how you feel is an important step in this process of reconnecting with our bodies. And then also like looking at our poo. So just understanding when you're having these bowel movements, was it comfortable? Was it uncomfortable? Generally it's pretty yuck, but like, what did it smell like? And then generally you'll know by the process itself, but you'll know what it looks like, or have a look. And you should always be like sort of the policeman here on the right. That's just like, that's our goal. That's what we want to aim for. If you got anything else, then there's something up with your digestion. So again, this is where you refer back to, what did I eat? What caused this? Did I have a bunch of beers last night? Did I eat, a whole bunch of sugary stuff that I probably shouldn't have eaten just before I went to bed? And just taking note of that and being mindful of that for next time. Because that's like, this is our number one indicator as to the health of our digestive system. As I said before, you should feel energized after eating. You shouldn't feel depleted of energy. All right, now stress. You can't lose weight when you're stressed. So when you are stressed, so you're worked up, so you could be stressed from work, from family, from you could be stressed from the traffic driving home, you could be stressed financially, whatever it is. When you're carrying a lot of stress, your body is constantly or chronically in operating from a sympathetic state. So that means the sympathetic nervous system is in overdrive, and the response from that is to release specific hormones that are designed for the fight or flight response. So those hormones are sort of more adrenaline based, cortisol based. And when you have high levels of cortisol and adrenaline pumping through the body chronically, as in all the time, then the body's response is going to be, shit, we're under threat. We need to go into survival. In order to survive, we need to retain all the fluid we can. We need to retain all the food we can, because we don't know if we're going into feast or famine. All right. So if you're stressed, the body's response, innate response built into, hardwired into our body, is to store fat. It is to store fluid. What we need to be doing is to be signaling to the body that we're safe, we're relaxed, we're in a parasympathetic state, and now is the time to rest and digest. And it is, we're in a phase of feast. Okay. So we're not going to be running out of food anytime soon. There's plenty to go around. We don't need to rush it. We don't need to throw it all in. We just need to relax and allow the body to go through its processes. So having a bit of a mindfulness routine around food, which is why we want to take those deep breaths before we start, but also just more generally taking a view at your stress levels, because the more stressed you are, the more weight you're going to carry. the harder it's going to be for you to offload that weight. And then the more toxins you're going to onboard, and those toxins are going to be stored in your fat cells, and those fat cells are going to be stored in your body. So you're just overloading the body with toxicity as well. So I can't stress this enough. We need to be more mindful, and we need to come up with ways to turn off the monkey mind and just be present in the moment and enjoy, sort of enjoy yourself day to day and have that sort of happiness meter going. All right. So if you need assistance with managing any of this, let me know, reach out. I've got a whole bunch of tools, a bunch of stuff that's worked for me, and things that we can start to implement to help you, I guess, address any outlying or elevated stress levels that you sort of might be experiencing. All right, now on to the final one, calorie counting. No, that's not what we're doing here. Yeah, like if you follow the science of it, like if you look purely at food as an energy, and if you're saying if we enter an energy deficit, as in we eat less and we move more, then you're going to thus burn all the excess stuff off your body, and then you're going to lose weight. Does it work? Yes, it does work. Is it sustainable? Absolutely not. So, and what it fails to acknowledge is the fact that not all foods are the same. When you're using a calorie counting method, you're effectively saying that a Tim Tam is just as good as an apple because it's just calorie versus calorie. And that's just not the case. An apple will carry a whole bunch of nutrients and minerals that provide extra sort of sustenance and value to the body, whereas a Tim Tam will not. Okay, so I want to scrap the whole idea of calorie counting. I don't want to get into the numbers game. I don't want you to be weighing your food. I want you to be reconnecting with it in a better way, in a more mindful way. Like, is this food is enough for me? I feel full. I feel energized. I only ate whole foods. I'm feeling really, really good after that. I had great bowel movements. I can go and get on with my day, and I don't need to snack in between meals. Because if you get caught up in calorie counting, you're just going to find yourself constantly stressing about the next meal, wondering what it's going to be, wondering if you're going to be able to eat that extra little thing or not, but you're hungry, so you kind of want to, or but I trained this morning, so I'm even more hungry. And then you're just going to go through your day either feeling hungry or feeling tired, or sort of dreading the next sort of weigh in with your food. So not calorie counting here. It's not something that I personally recommend. I can appreciate that maybe it does work, but in terms of long-term sustainable results, I don't think it's a good option. Another thing to think of is if you meet your goals with, say you had a weight loss goal of losing 5 kilos in 5 weeks, and you meet that goal through calorie counting, what happens at the end of the 5 weeks? You haven't made any behavior change around any of the food you've eaten. All you've done is just gone into a deficit. So how do you sustain that? Because you haven't made any behavior change, you're not now eating better foods. You're not now actually improving your health. You're still eating the same crap. So you're going to get the same results once you introduce your normal baseline of calories. You're going to put the weight straight back on, guarantee it. Okay, so not a long-term sustainable option. And look, I'm sure a lot of you are happy to hear that, because weighing your food and counting calories is an absolute ball ache, and it's not something that I want you to have to do. Okay, so we're just focusing on real food, drink your water, and relax.